What if I told you one man's inventions accidentally led to the deaths of millions, a global decline in intelligence, and two separate environmental catastrophes that still plague us today?
Data of humanity.
This is the chilling story of scientific brilliance misused, a fight for truth against corporate greed, and the devastating consequences that echo through generations. Our story begins in 1944 with a young chemist named Clair Patterson, who, fresh out of his master's, joined the top-secret Manhattan Project. His task was critical concentrating uranium-235 for nuclear weapons, a process that honed his skills with powerful mass spectrometers. After the war, Patterson pursued his PhD, aiming to measure the age of the Earth using radioactive decay in primordial rocks. Zircon crystals, known for incorporating uranium but no lead, were ideal for calibrating his instruments. But as Patterson meticulously measured lead content in these crystals, something was terribly wrong. His results were wildly inconsistent, many times higher than expected. There was lead that simply shouldn't have been there. This baffling mystery would consume the rest of his life, leading him to the literal ends of the earth in search of an answer. Meanwhile, decades earlier, in 1908 Detroit, a tragic accident set in motion a chain of events. Byron Carter, a prominent car manufacturer, died from injuries sustained while hand cranking a stalled car. His friend, Cadillac founder Henry Leland, was so distraught he vowed to eliminate hand cranks. He hired engineer Charles Kettering, who by 1911 had invented the self-starting car. The Cadillac Model 30, much more powerful and easy to start, became an overnight success. But it had a serious flaw. It was deafeningly loud. Its high compression engine often caused fuel to spontaneously combust before the spark plug fired, leading to engine knocking, a chaotic, damaging roar that reduced power, wasted fuel, and shortened engine life. Kettering tasked another brilliant young engineer, 27-year-old Thomas Midgley Jr., with finding an additive to stop this knocking. Midgley experimented tirelessly, trying everything from melted butter to camphor. Ethanol worked, but was too expensive and needed in large quantities. Tellurium was incredibly effective, but produced such a foul, persistent stench that Midgley's wife banished him to the basement for 7 months. He concluded humanity wouldn't tolerate the smell, even for double the fuel economy. Then, on December 3rd, 1921, after 5 years, Midgley found what he believed was the perfect solution: tetraethyl lead. It was odorless, cheap, effective at a ratio of just 1 part in 1,000, and completely eliminated knocking. Overjoyed, Midgley reportedly exclaimed to Kettering, "Can you imagine how much money we're going to make with this? We're going to make $200 million, maybe even more, a sum equivalent to over $3 billion today." He received a prestigious award but declined public talks. Instead, he and Kettering patented the process, misleadingly naming their additive ethyl to avoid mentioning the highly toxic lead. They partnered with corporate giants General Motors, DuPont, and Standard Oil to form the Ethyl Corporation. Their marketing was brilliant, presenting their innovation as a beacon of progress. Leaded gasoline became a sensation, demand skyrocketed, and a new plant was built, but the success came with a horrifying cost. Within 2 months of operation, dozens of workers fell ill with lead poisoning. 5 died. Faced with public outrage, Midgley staged a reckless press conference, pouring tetraethyl lead on his hands and inhaling it for a minute, claiming it was safe. Yet he knew the truth. He had spent much of 1923 recovering from lead poisoning himself and actively avoided his company's product. The dangers of lead had been documented for centuries, with Benjamin Franklin himself warning against its toxicity. Lead is insidious. It mimics calcium in our bodies, meaning there's no efficient way to get rid of it. Like calcium, lead can be stored in bones for years, continuously poisoning the body long after initial exposure. The organ most sensitive to lead is the brain, where it breaks down the myelin sheath around axons and prevents neurotransmitter release, leading to headaches, memory loss, and neurological damage. Children are especially vulnerable, with lead exposure causing permanent learning disorders and behavioural problems. We will cover this specific topic in detail in future videos. So, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Doctors and public health officials vehemently warned against tetraethyl lead, calling it a creeping and malicious poison and a serious menace to public health. But their concerns were dismissed. The industry argued that a little lead couldn't do much harm. By the 1950s, millions of cars worldwide were burning leaded fuel, releasing toxic lead into the atmosphere. This was the extra lead Clair Patterson kept finding. Suspicious of environmental contamination, he built a meticulous, clean room at Caltech, removing all lead from his equipment and creating the world's first sterile lab environment. There, he finally succeeded in measuring the age of the Earth by analysing ancient meteorites, determining it to be 4.55 billion years old. A staggering achievement, but his battle with lead was far from over. Patterson dedicated the rest of his life to proving the dangers of atmospheric lead. He measured lead levels in the oceans, finding concentrations nearly 10 times higher at the surface, undeniable proof of recent pollution. He analysed ice cores from Greenland and Antarctica, revealing a massive spike in atmospheric lead in the 20th century, directly correlating with industrialization and leaded gasoline. Most horrifyingly, he compared lead levels in ancient mummies to modern Americans, discovering that 20th century Americans had up to 1,000 times more lead in their bones. Studies unequivocally linked lead exposure, even at previously deemed safe levels, to decreased IQ, delayed learning, increased behavioural problems, and higher rates of high school failure. The CDC drastically lowered its acceptable lead levels, acknowledging there is no safe level. Globally, lead is believed to be responsible for nearly 2/3 of all unexplained intellectual disability, costing over 800 million IQ points in the US alone for generations born between 1951 and 1980. The world is undeniably less intelligent today because of leaded gasoline. The correlations grew darker still. A chilling graph shows a direct parallel between preschool blood lead levels and crime rates 2 decades later, a pattern observed globally. Studies confirmed a causal link between lead exposure and antisocial or violent behavior. Beyond cognitive and behavioral damage, lead also hardens arteries, leading to cardiovascular disease. A 2018 study attributed 250,000 heart disease deaths per year in the US to lead, potentially totaling 25 million American deaths over the past century, and perhaps 100 million globally. Most of these preventable deaths are directly traceable to Midgley's decision to put lead in gasoline, a substance he knew was toxic, all for profit. Yet, Midgley's capacity for accidental environmental disaster wasn't exhausted. After his success with ethyl, General Motors tasked him with creating a safer refrigerant for household fridges, replacing toxic or flammable gases. In 1928, Midgley developed dichloro-difluoromethane, marketed as Freon, a chlorofluorocarbon, CFC. At its unveiling to demonstrate its safety, he famously inhaled a lungful of the gas and blew out a candle. CFCs became incredibly popular, used in aerosols and solvents. But these stable, light molecules floated into the stratosphere, where UV light would break them apart, releasing chlorine atoms. These atoms then reacted with and destroyed ozone, creating the infamous hole in the ozone layer. Less ozone meant more harmful UV radiation reaching Earth, increasing skin cancer and cataracts. Moreover, CFCs are potent greenhouse gases, thousands of times more warming than CO2. Historians describe Midgley as having more impact on the atmosphere than any other single organism in Earth's history. The Montreal Protocol in 1989 began phasing out CFCs, and the ozone layer is slowly recovering, though it will take decades more. In a final, ironic twist, Midgley contracted polio in 1940, leaving him disabled. He designed a mechanical bed with ropes and pulleys to help him move. On November 2nd, 1944, he became entangled in his own invention and died of strangulation. Thanks to the relentless efforts of Clair Patterson, the truth about environmental lead emerged, proving it was a man-made toxin spread across the planet. Japan was the first to ban leaded fuel in 1986, with Algeria being the last in 2021. The UN estimates that eliminating lead from gasoline saves over 1 million lives and trillions of dollars annually. Yet, leaded gas persists in piston-driven airplane engines, now the largest source of lead emissions in the US. The story of Midgley and Patterson is a stark reminder of how quickly useful truths are ignored for profit and the immense, long-lasting consequences of scientific choices.